There was a time when resources seemed endless. But in 2030, the great energy crisis began. With hardly any resources left on our world, global powers created the World Space Agency to look beyond the Earth for answers. The answer was found in helium-3, a powerful isotope discovered in abundance on the Moon. With it, humanity could satisfy its energy demand for decades to come. And so, in 2032, mankind colonized the Moon. Spearheaded by the Lunar Council, the WSA constructed several permanent settlements to harvest and process helium-3. The resulting energy was transferred to Earth through a revolutionary energy network, the Microwave Power Transmission, or MPT. For a time, all seemed well. Then, one fateful night in 2054, the lights went out. No energy. The MPT had gone offline, and communication with the lunar colonist was lost. Without earthly resources to launch a full-scale rescue mission to the Moon, the World Space Agency was shut down permanently in 2055. But a small group of former WSA colonists refused to accept humanity's bleak future. Determined to discover the colony's fate and to restore the MPT, they've been preparing their mission in an abandoned desert launch facility. Now, in 2059, they are ready to launch an astronaut to the Moon. What awaits is unknown and unforeseeable, but the mission is clear. Deliver us the Moon.
All right, welcome to the Game Vault. This is Captain Beefy with Deliver Us the Moon. Excuse me. Cool little indie game for our indie spotlight for February. Deliver Us Mars is coming out a little bit later this year, so I wanted to kind of get through this one to see if maybe I'd be interested in that Deliver Us Mars. So let's check this out. I've played through it once. It's a pretty cool game. It's a very short game. Not quite as short as last month's Indie Spotlight, What Remains of Edith Finch. But, you know, a couple hours longer. A little more meat to this story. Done in the Unreal Engine. And you can tell as you look at the game that it is. You got lots of stuff to pick up and examine to figure out the mystery of what happened and what's going on. Got to memorize this because, you know,
for countries north of the equatorial desert, temperatures are expected to be a mild 46 degrees.
That's how we launched the rocket a little bit. The Microwave Power Transmitter. Makes you wonder how it stays lined up, you know? Yeah, I'm here. Let's get dressed and let's get this show on the road. Thanks for joining me as always. It is greatly appreciated. Hope you're enjoying this series.
This is Claire. Please confirm radio contact. Radio contact confirmed. Make your way to the launch platform and prime the rocket for liftoff. We have to launch before the dust storm hits.
Okay. So our Astro tool is basically a Pip-Boy for you Fallout players. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Looks good. Game looks great. You know, typical Unreal game.
It took us 4 years to get it ready for launch. But you need to hurry. The dust storm will hit this area in a few hours. If we don't succeed now, the Fortuna mission will be over for good.
I did have a situation or two where the game crashed on me. I'm playing again on the PS5. You know, so it's not entirely stable, which is a little disappointing. I mean, it's a very short, very small game. You don't get, there aren't people in it, like, you're not interacting with other people other than via a communicator, like you just heard. So it's not like you're looking at facial animations and that sort of stuff. You're just, let's flush the toilet, because why not? Right, there we go. You're not looking at facial animations and stuff like that. Now, you do get a cool robot later on in the game that will let you see past events. But again, there's not a lot of detail to it. It's kind of like holograms without any detail to them. Little Sputnik. Alright, let's go ahead and get this rocket launched and get up to the moon, because this isn't Deliver Us the Desert on Earth. And of course we get a busted elevator, because, you know, why would an elevator work in a video game? I've used a lot of elevators in my life. I work in a hospital. Never had to do that. You can jump. Woohoo! You can push buttons. Woohoo! So yeah, the game is enjoyable. It has a pretty cool story to it.
The control center is located on the top floor. There you can prime the rocket for launch.
A nice little vista view here.
Since we last received a microwave power transmission from the lunar colony. At first, no one believed it would be possible to transmit energy from the moon back to Earth. But the WSA proved the skeptics wrong. Just like you will, when you get the MPT back online.
Now you'll see every now and then as different areas are loading how things will kind of jank a little bit, right? That's a big part of the game, is this kind of stuff here. Little pads where you got to find the codes, and the codes are always somewhere fairly close by, like here. So I remember 3548. But it does go into your objectives for you to look at later. So let's go ahead and hit that 3548. And make our way through here. Another good look outside. The dust storm is pretty crappy looking. The game's very linear.
This building once functioned as part of the WSA, but it's been our home for many years now. I still can't believe you'll be leaving here for good soon. The desertification of this whole region won't take long after the storm passes through.
Rewards you a little bit for exploration, but not a whole lot. But you know, there's just not a lot to do other than the main story, and that's fine. That's what this game is designed to do. It's not a dig on the game. Not every game has to be a monster. 100 hours long, and you know, with 5,000 fetch quests and all that. No, sometimes you need a game like this, a game that you can just kind of go through and have fun on a weekend, or beat in a couple nights after work. So in that regard, it does its job. You'll see stuff like this, little data pads. And you always have emails open up on them for you to read. Little cool stuff to, you know, give you little pieces of the story. This is talking about the Huygens manufacture malfunction. Somebody's dealing with some anxiety with antidepressants. Saw the jank again there. So that's where I noticed the crashes occurred, was when loading from one area to another, and that could be a little frustrating, especially when filming, because when I'm filming, gotta move this out of the way, and it does that, I lose all the footage. I can't just say, okay, let me restart from where I left off, and just, you know, splice it together with a little fade or anything like that. I have to start completely over, which is very annoying. I do recommend walking around, looking around. You'll see magazines and collectibles like that. There's not a lot, but there are a few. Getting the platinum on this is going to be more challenging than getting the platinum on Edith Finch. You know, that was a pretty easy one. Able to do it basically in one run through. This one's going to probably require just a little more effort. But it's definitely not impossible. At first I thought that was some kind of electrical thing that was going to be trouble, but it's not. Whenever you see that, that's like an audio log coming up. Yay. I can turn off the Claire's office. All right. So we'll go ahead and listen to it.
Plausible causes for the MPT blackout. 1. The transmitter at Pearson Space Station. Claire, there you are. Come on, we're celebrating in the other room. Everyone is looking for you.
I need to go over this one last time, Maria.
We've been over it before, multiple times. We're good. Come. It's time to join the party.
It won't take long. I'll be right there.
A true Johansson. Once he set his mind to something, I could never convince him either. You're just as stubborn as your father.
Probably the only thing we had in common. I just don't understand why he didn't restore the MPT connection. He invented the damn thing. And now it's just us. No one else is even trying. If we fail...
Remember what I told you? If it can be done, then we're going to do it. That's all we have to focus on. Go over your notes. Join us when you're ready.
All right.
I didn't realize you could shut your Pip-Boy during those conversations on my initial playthrough, so it did add a lot of time to the playthrough because I just sit there and listen to the audio logs, and I said, you know what? When I started the new playthrough, I said, the first one I get to, I'm going to try that with. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Get the rocket ready to
I'll
launch
start
as
over.
fast as possible.
So here we go. We got a reboot.
Calculating new storm ETA. Claire, we have a problem. The storm is approaching faster than expected. Way faster. Time's running out. Keep going, Fortuna. We've been working too long to give up now.
That's right. So I never really tested to see, and you hit your objective anytime there. I never tested to see how long you had with the time run out or anything like that. I just kind of moved along with the story, and I'm going to do that here. Yeah, there's no need to do that. I think it's one of those games that gives you plenty of time, but it gives you that false sense of not much time. When you get close to the end is when I think the timer starts going crazy on you. So let's go on and shut off these fuel valves. You'll notice I called the elevator. You'll see why in a second. Climb this one. And it's really whatever one you climb second. Remember that little staircase we moved downstairs? Well, let's go get it. See, I had it conveniently lined up. Alright. Come on. Alright.
Okay.
Now we'll head back inside.
Head back inside the control center to prime the rocket for launch.
And here's the way we prime it up. The key turn. Vi-
The rocket is primed. You have to launch now, before the dust storm destroys the rocket and everything we've worked for.
All right, I'm coming. Visually, the game is perfect. You know, it's good. It's not super realistic, but it's realistic enough to work. The sound design is good. I like the music. The sound effects are great. Voice acting is solid. You know, I didn't really notice any major weak points in it. I mean, it's not the best I've heard, but it's definitely a step above a lot of voice acting. As you can see, we got to this with 45 seconds to spare. Now we got to remember that launch sequence that we looked at earlier.
Systems online. We're nearly there. It's just like your training. You can do this.
See, there's the
Initiate
poster up there.
launch procedure.
But they make it easy. Everything you got to do lights up for you.
Sequencer started. Orbital axis arm retracting. Be a little more careful.
Whoops.
Perfect, just like with practice.
There we go. Now, if you take too long, A1, A3, B3, B4. If you take too long, you'll start to get a timer clicking off.
Primary power unit.
So you can't just sit here and goof around. You really have to work at it.
Gaseous oxygen vent arms safely in place.
All right, got that. Perfect.
Sound suppression system engaged.
That's
Hydrogen
done.
burn-off system activated. Rocket boosters ready for ignition. Standing by for countdown. Rocket boosters ignition start. Engines ready in 5, 4, 3, 2, start 1. We have liftoff.
And look at that. We are ready to rumble. Heading off into space. Going to the moon. But yeah, if you look around, everything has a look to it that is, it's realistic enough to buy. You know, things aren't perfect. You can see chipped paint. Look at that. There's the light flashing off of there. It looks good. More chip paint along the window there to the left of it. You know, things have a certain aged and used look to it. It's not super slick and shiny.
The rocket has entered the thermosphere. You're on your way, Fatuna 1.
I think they did a good job with it. Again, not the most stellar thing you'll ever see, but definitely worth looking at. Goodbye, Earth.
Astronauts made their way to the moon just 100 years ago. They knew an Earth full of life. All we know today is dust. If you can bring the MPT network back online, it could restore the hope humanity lost after the lunar colony fell. We could recover, rebuild, and most of all, start thinking about a future. You'll need to find the MPT transmitter at the Pearson space station. From there, the power signal was relayed to Earth. This was the final link in the MPT network before the blackout. If there are answers to find, they're at Pearson. Claire, we need to head down to the shelter. These winds are getting bad. Understood. Fatuna 1, this storm is going to jam radio contact. You'll
Of course.
be on your own for a while. To reach the station, you must... Once you're in the...
Damn it.
Second stage of the law. Please, deliver us the moon.
Deliver us the moon. Okay, well, we've done pretty good so far. Let's go ahead. cut off the main engine. And I guess we're dropping our boosters away, right? Let's rock and roll. Now that looks a little chintzy, but it's all right. The game is very moody, very atmospheric. It has almost a horror game feel to it, even though there are no elements of horror to it. You know, it does have plenty of tension. It has some pretty interesting moments where, you know, you've got to work against the clock, or you find disturbing things that happened on this colony, stuff like that. I keep expecting like necromorphs from Dead Space to hop out and start, you know, running at me and spitting acid at me and stuff like that. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this very first episode of Deliver Us the Moon. These are going to be short episodes, and I think there's about 6 or 8 of them overall planned, roughly, for the series. So thanks for joining me. If you want to see how this ends, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell for notifications. You'll get a notification every time a new episode drops. And don't forget to leave a like on the video. It's a huge help for me, and it's greatly appreciated. I will see you next time. Until then, peace.